good? What is happening, everyone? My name is Ferris Muthana, and welcome to another great edition of Good Friends, Better Rivals. Today, I am riding solo, but it's going to be a quick one today because we only have about two topics on the day. One of them being the draft combine has started. Last night was day one. Last night was pretty much the defensive linemen and the linebackers. A lot of great defense lineman had a great days. Like Arkansas's Landon Jackson, he had a great day. We had the Texas A&M boys, Shamar Stewart and Nick Scroton. They had good days as well. I'm trying to look up Currently, we have the DBs. They're doing on-field drills. So there's that. Trying to see NFL Draft Combine 2025 results. Trying to see here the results right here. We're gonna get them all right. So yep. So the defensive linemen are the ones that were going on. We have a couple. So the 40-yard dashes, a lot of defense for defensive tackles. Nebraska's Ty Robinson, defensive tackle, had the fastest time. Hey Adelia, how are you? How you doing? How you feeling? That's great. He had the fastest at 4.83. Man, he's a big boy. That Ty Robinson out of Nebraska. He stands. Let me check his measurables. He stands at 6'5". 288. That's a big man right there. He has 10-inch hands and 32 and 1/4 length arms. So there's that. A couple of because we as the New York Giants, one of our main targets of need, right, is quarterback. We'll talk about the quarterback in a minute. But we also have a defensive line. We need more defensive line help. We're not very deep, or we have a lot of players, not very many good players. So we need to revamp that defensive line because the defensive line and the defense didn't really fit Shane Bowen's scheme. It's either a mass miscalculation by the GM hiring someone who doesn't run the same scheme, so it doesn't effectively use the players we've already drafted for Wink Martindale. I think that's more likely than hiring Shane Bowen. And you should expect some growing pains in a defense where the players they drafted are not built for this defense. And it's a 1 year under, we'll see if they rectify the situation. I don't believe they can. I truly believe this is their last years, and Joe Shane is going to get fired. This is his last year, unless he miraculously makes the playoffs, and it's not even making the playoffs. We got to be competitive. Shout out right now, Craig Woodson, DB out of Cal's on the field. Great pinpoint catch by him, keeping the ball in the first window of the catch. But the DB drills are currently going on right now, so I may make some references to the DB drills because I'm currently also watching offside. Shout out to Malachi Starks, had a good field drill. But we continue, right? Let's talk about the big elephant in the room, big domino to fall, the QBs. The New York Giants have been connected to Matthew Stafford all off season. That connection is now dead and buried because Matthew Stafford has agreed to a restructured deal to stay in LA. That's the biggest key of why the Rams were going to get rid of him. It wasn't because they didn't want him, is that they didn't want to pay him the money that he was already being paid. So they needed to restructure that deal, to keep him. And that's what he did. They restructured it and he stayed. He stays in LA. He doesn't have to move. He's in his late 30s, so he probably doesn't want to move as often as you may think. So there's that. So he's staying there. So Giants just no longer on the Matthew Stafford boat. Gone. People thought they would trade for Matthew Stafford and they trade up for the number 1 pick to draft Cam Ward. I'm a big fan of. I prefer Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders. I just feel like Cam has that. He has something about him. He's a true. They talk about Giants culture and all that jazz, and Cam Ward fits it. No star recruit out of high school, Incarnate Wood, and then he went to Washington State. Then Washington State was then screwed over during realignment. They had no conference. It was just them and Oregon State. So he went to then play for the University of Miami. Had a great year there. Mario Cristobal was a slightly better coach, they may have made the playoffs. Losing to Syracuse wasn't good. That was more, so that's as well. So I prefer, Cam Ward to Shedeur. If I get Shedeur, I have no problem, but I really want Cam. So that's another, it's a QB carousel for the Giants. It's, just do 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 do. First, how in Carousel there's the horse, there's the carriage, there's the little bench, and we're just trying to find the perfect seat. Matthew Stafford no longer an option. Someone have already taken that seat, so he's done, just done. Just done. Trying to no more. Staying in LA. Now, big story coming out that now they've pivoted to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, we all know who Aaron Rodgers is. A tremendous football player when he was in Green Bay. Completely and utterly failed in the other New York Giants spot. And with the Jets. Shout out to you, Reg. How you doing, Reg? What's up, everybody? Complete failure. First year, it's kind of a wash. He tore his Achilles literally on the first play of the game, first play of the season for him. And he tore his Achilles, so it's a wash. His second year, just complete, utter nonsense. They blamed Robert Saleh for the problem when he wasn't the problem. The problem was the offense and Nathaniel Hackett. They were the problem. So they fired Robert Saleh, I believe, a little too soon. They should have, because, what happened to DeMeco Ryans in Houston is what people wanted to happen to Robert Saleh in New York. But the problem is Joe Douglas drafted Zach Wilson as the quarterback, and nothing happened after that. Yes, Reg, I agree. Aaron Rodgers is washed. Absolutely. I don't want Aaron Rodgers. I don't want him nowhere near my team. I don't. Not even, football-wise, off the field-wise, we talk about distractions and stuff. Here's the thing, too, man. There was a lot of stories coming out of Odell Beckham Jr. and how distractions about Odell Beckham Jr. Proposing to the kicking net, him and Josh Norman fighting, Odell just being, just Odell. So, oh, what a distraction, man, Odell. And then you want to then get Aaron Rodgers, who, a distraction as a wide receiver, you can live with it, because you can, receivers, they're a little crazy, they're a little temperamental, but you don't want Aaron Rodgers there, because talk about crazy and temperamental. It's Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers, and I don't want him. He is someone I definitely do not want. I don't know why this is even a conversation. Shout out to the homie Sal. Sal, not a content creator. He actually brought up Aaron Rodgers a couple, I think a month ago or 2 months ago, where he said, "Walk with me." It's Aaron Rodgers. We get Aaron Rodgers, and then we draft Shedeur Sanders, and we see Aaron Rodgers teach Shedeur. I've seen a lot where it's Aaron Rodgers really kind of helped Jordan Love in Green Bay, because he didn't want what happened to Jordan Love happened to him. Well, what happened to him to happen to Jordan Love, because Brett Favre basically just said, I don't want anything to do with Aaron Rodgers. That's what Brett Favre basically said. And then he threw a hissy fit, and then he said, I'm not gonna play, I'm gonna retire. And then it was like, oh, are you gonna retire? And then the Packers were like, we're moving on anyway, so we don't really care. So there's that. So we'll see about that. Yes, teams will put up with a lot if you're producing. Exactly. Exactly. But Odell Beckham Jr. was producing, and they still shipped him to Cleveland. They sent him to die in Cleveland, basically. So it's kind of hypocritical of them to then sign Aaron Rodgers, because he's not been producing. He's almost 40. He doesn't take care of his body like Tom Brady did, where Tom Brady didn't eat strawberries and cherries and all that jazz. So I don't understand the thing. Some people want Aaron Rodgers, and then we stay at 3 and draft Travis Hunter. Me, man, I never wanted this. I didn't want this GM core to be even in this position. I wanted them fired, because they messed up last year's draft. Because you're talking about, people talk about like, oh man, you're drafting the 3rd best QB or the 4th best QB in this draft. It's like, yeah, but like, just because they're the 4th best doesn't mean they're not good. You know, it was a deep QB class last year. It was 6 picks in the first 12 picks were QBs. The top 3. You didn't even try to get Drake May. You didn't even try to get the Patriots pick. You know, that's why no one's doing Hard Knocks this year, the offseason Hard Knocks, because they made Joe Shane look like an imbecile. This man, he's not very good at lying. This man literally said in a press conference, we haven't talked about or did the necessary work for Cam Ward. You know, and people were like, ha ha ha, that's funny. I don't think he has. I generally think he doesn't. To be quite honest with you, what was his job in Buffalo? You're the assistant GM in Buffalo. What was your job? What did you do? Because it didn't seem like you did anything of note, because you've completely failed this entire time. You know, okay, failure is a stretch. You know, he did sign Jermaine Illuminor. He was, and Andrew Thomas, good bookends. Good bookends for the offensive line. Did get Bobby Okereke. He did regress, but the problem is the scheme. They're still getting together with the scheme. But yeah, I don't understand why. And you know what? Every year, if you can't get a quarterback and you don't like the quarterback, you try again next year. But the problem is, I don't want them to be trying again next year. That's the thing. I don't trust them. I don't trust this regime that John Mara has hired, especially the GM. Especially the GM. Because he first year was with David Gettleman's players, mostly David Gettleman's players. And Brian Daboll coached the living snot out of that team. We were running 31 I think it's called 31 personnel, where it's like we had 3 tight ends on the field. I don't think it's called 31 personnel. It makes no damn sense. It could, because 21 personnel is 2 tight ends. We had 3 tight ends on the field. No, it was 21 personnel. We ran a lot of 21 personnel because we had Tanner Hudson, Daniel Bellinger, and then our fullback. Well, it was actually 22 personnel. We ran a lot of 22 personnel. And then our H-back, fullback, Chris Myrick, who, I don't know what happened to Chris. He broke his wrist and then disappeared. So there's that. We ran a lot of 22 personnel with Darius Slayton on the outside. We did pretty well. Brian Daboll coached the daylights out of this team because he also had Saquon Barkley. But then, you didn't re-sign Saquon because, for a reason. I don't understand why. And then you gave a lot of money to Daniel Jones. That's just grounds for firing, because you're not telling me you played hardball with Saquon, but then you gave all the money to Daniel Jones. Something's off here. Either you had no choice but to give Daniel Jones that money, or you're a bad GM. Or Daniel Jones that money. You had no choice but to give Daniel Jones that money because the owner told you to, or you're a bad GM. I'm sorry. It's one or the other. It was $2 million, I think. That was the difference. We offered 12, they offered 14. $2 million. And and now John Mara can't sleep at night knowing that Saquon Barkley won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles in his first year in Philly. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. I don't want Aaron Rodgers. It's just a Band-Aid on an already broken problem. And it's not even a good Band-Aid. It's like they're just putting gauze. They just keep just putting gauze and dabbing the wound. They're just like, oh, let's just keep dabbing the wound with gauze and blah blah blah. But it's not. You're not fixing the wound. You're not stopping the bleeding. You're not. You're not stitching it up. No, you're just dabbing it with gauze to absorb blood. But the blood keeps seeping out. That's what Aaron Rodgers is. He's gauze. And it's gauze on a terminal patient. So I don't understand why he's even an option. I generally don't get it. But a lot of people think he's the right option for us, but I'm not with it. I'm not with it at all. But now let's talk about Day one draft combine thoughts. Currently as we speak, day two is going on. The DBs, safeties and cornerbacks, they're currently doing field drills. Currently, back pedal, opening the hips. These are the field drills I really like. Because you're fat. People assume oh, the 40. The 40 changes everything. I know a lot of Ravens fans. I think Reg should is one of them. The safety out of South Carolina. I think Nick. Let me check his name. Is it Nick? No, it's not Nick. Yeah, it's Nick. Nick Emawari and Marquise. So Nick Emawari, he's the safety out of South Carolina. Some of the Ravens, I know they're gonna be like, oh, the Ravens are gonna draft him because they tend to fall in love with the DB or the defensive player in the draft late in the process to trick the fans, even though they need offensive help. They need offensive help, but it is what it is. But the first day was all about edges and defensive tackles. James Pierce Jr., big winner of the day, of yesterday. He ran a 4.46 in the 40, but that was kind of expected. Well, it wasn't expected. Everyone knew he was fast because he's a speed rusher out of Tennessee, tremendous player. People knew he had speed, but he beat a couple of running backs and wide receivers. I love when they do the overlay of previous 40s with the current 40. They did an overlay with I think Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown, and James Pierce was with them step by step. He beat AJ Brown actually. He was step by step with Saquon Barkley. That's a defensive end. We're talking defensive end here, But the 10-yard split is the biggest key for defensive ends because defensive ends, they're not running in a straight line all the time, right? They're always running in angles. They're always running in angles. So 10-yard splits, like what's basically his reaction time and his get off. The 10-yard split is what is key. And guess who tops it off again? James Pierce Jr. at 1.56. It was pretty close. Then you had, Colin Oliver out of Oklahoma State, 1.57, and then you had Shamar Stewart, big winner, Texas A&M and Old Miss. Texas A&M and Old Miss, their guys showed up. Shamar Stewart, he showed up. Landon Jackson was also a big winner. Kyle Kennard, SEC defensive player of the year over James Stewart. He's a big man. He had a 1.63, but in the 40, Kyle Kennard, I believe, ran 4.73. So he's a big defensive end. Shout out to Landon Jackson. Jordan Birch had a good day, I believe, as well. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And then we get to the verticals. Landon Jackson, 40.5. Shamar Stewart, 40. These are defensive end. These are edge players, guys. We're talking about edges who are now ranging from they're 6'3", but here's the thing, they're like 280 pounds. They're muscle. Some of them may be shorter than because like if you put a football player next to an NFL, an NBA player, they're definitely shorter. But like they have a lot of muscle mass. Like there's a lot of condensed muscle mass. Because to absorb the pain of the hitting, right? NBA players, they're very tall and lanky, and not a lot of them are like buff. They're not LeBron James is got a football player's build. LeBron James does is what some people call it. A lot of NBA players, they're very they're tall and they have some muscle, but they're not stout. They're not like like they're not like that. A lot of them are like Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, very slender people. These guys are very well built, and then you could see also like the edges, and then 40 inches for an edge is pretty good. Defensive tackle was also a big day. The verticals for the defensive tackles, I just love how they make defensive tackles do verts. I was like, what? It's like imagine Ty Robinson jumping. He had a 33.5. That was good by Ty Robinson. The 40-yard, the 10-yard split is the key for the defensive tackles, right? Because It's right there, man. It's 10 yards. You know, it's under 10 yards. That's the key, right? From point A to point B. Jared Harris Hunt out of SMU and Tyron Ingram Dawkins out of Georgia, a Georgia boy as well. Ty Robinson, another big winner. Aeneas Peebles, he was the D tackle out of Virginia Tech. He had a lot of people talked about him. He was having a good day. So there's that. You know, then there's Warren Brinson, the D tackle out of Georgia again. There's that. Then there's Nazir Stackhouse, the D tackle out of Georgia as well. It's a lot of Georgia representation. A lot of Georgia representation. And then we had, I believe Jack Sawyer was there as well, and David Walker. Didn't see a lot of Deion Walker, the D tackle out of UNC. There's that. But the other position groups, you know, the broad, you know, the 3-cone drill, and then the 20-yard shuttle. Those are really big keys, right? Because, you know, for defensive linemen and defensive tackles, they're in a very compact space on a football field. So you need to know what their change of direction in that short space. The figure 8 is what some people like it. And the 3-cone as well. You know, Donovan Ezuraku out of Boston College had great 3-cone and 20-yard shuttles. David Walker out of Central Arkansas had himself a great day. Had a great day. So, you know, if you want to look for a mid-major player in the 3rd round, probably the 4th round, he's probably one you can pick up. Princely Umanmila, the defensive end out of Ole Miss by way of the University of Florida, he had a good 20-yard shuttle and a cone, I believe, as well. Yep, 7.33. It's fine. You know, it's good. But I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to see, like, I'm trying to juxtapose between this year and last year, you know. This is all time. My bad. No live results. So there's that. But then the linebackers were key because New York Giants need defensive tackles. We need defensive tackles. We need more defensive ends. So I'm kind of looking for the people in the 2nd and 3rd round who's going to drop. You know, I'm looking at David Walker. I'm looking at Landon Jackson, Jordan Birch. You know, I'm looking at them. See if they fall. You know, defensive tackle. You know, I'm looking at Ty Robinson, Aeneas Peebles, Derek Harmon, the Oregon defensive tackle, one of the Georgia boys, Warren Brinson, you know, Zeke Biggers, you know, Nazir Stackhouse, man. You want to talk about a unit? That man is a unit. That man is a unit. He's a big boy, that Nazir, and you know, and that's what we need, right? We need like a big old, you know, space eater, you know, like Jordan Davis. Next to Dexter Lawrence. So we can free up Dexter, try to get him more one-on-ones because, you know, Nas takes up the space. We'll see about that. But we'll see if they, the thing is, I'm thinking, what if Joe Shane, you know, like I'm thinking like we should do this, and then it's like and then I remember my GM is Joe Shane. He's not gonna do this. You know, he's not. It's just not gonna happen. You know, it's just I don't understand. You know, so it's I'm not keeping my hopes high. We'll see how it goes. Currently, like I said, the cornerbacks and the strong safeties and the safeties are currently, you know, on the field. The fastest 40 for a DB was by Maxwell Hairston. He ran a 4.28. And Iowa State's Deron Porter ran a 4.3. And then they projectedly get faster. So, but in the DB category, it was Marquise Single Sigel out of Kansas State and Nick Amawari, out of South Carolina. Then we see a lot of 4.4s, 4.4s, 4.4s. And then Elijah Clark is a 4.5, and then Malachi Stark's a 4.5. But, that's straight line speed. That's straight line speed. We must remember that's straight line speed. That's going in a straight line. But, DBs, they're backpedaling, going in angles here and there. So there's that. Yeah, Harrison has definitely improved his drive. Exactly, man. A great 40, improves everything. A great 40 changes a lot of people's minds. A lot of people's minds. The tight ends are going to come out a little bit later. So the tight ends haven't really done much yet on the field. So we'll see tight ends a little bit more because we have the safeties and the DBs out right now, currently as we speak. But yeah, it's defensive tackles. We need the New York Giants need defensive tackles, man. The 3-cone and the shuttle. Tyron Ingram Dawkins, the D tackle out of Georgia. Those are the drills I really look at for defensive tackles, because the defensive tackles, they're operating in a very small space. Very small space. So we need someone who can get from point A to point B very quickly and very efficiently. Tyron Ingram Dawkins is one of them. Ty Robinson is another one. Like I said, the Nebraska defensive tackle. So I'm going to keep my eyes on him. So we'll see about that. Defensive ends, we have 2 speed defensive ends. There's no problem with that, but we need a big defensive end, right? So this Boston College kid, I need to watch some tape on him, because I think apparently this kid is just popping off the charts. He's just pop. He didn't run the 40, so we don't have his 10-yard dash and 10-yard split. But we do have, his 3-cone and his shuttle, where he topped. He was, number 1. So his straight line speed is very. I'm trying to say his last name. His name is Donovan. Boston College kid his name is Donovan. So there's that. But pretty much that's pretty much it for the combine. Everyone talks about the sexy day is always Saturday, when the running backs, the QBs, and the wide receivers come out. But the first 2 days this is where you build your team. Defensive line, DB. 2 things where it affects the main thing, which is quarterback. Intercept the ball, get the sack. 2 of the most important things currently in the NFL right now. If you can rush with 4 without blitzing, it's game over. We literally saw it in the Super Bowl. Philly didn't blitz at all. They just sent waves of defensive linemen at Patrick Mahomes. They dropped 7 every single time, because they knew their 4 was better than your 5. So then Patrick's like, I can't find a hole in the coverage, because there's 7 DBs and DBs, linebackers as well, to my tight end and 3 receivers. 7 on 4 is the advantage you want. If your 4 can beat the 5, the 7 will beat the 4. Defensive line in the NFL now has become very important. Building depth and having a rotation. We've been on Good Friends, Better Rivals. We've been talking about it all year. How the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm a Giants fan. Caleb's a Cowboys fan. We hate the Eagles, but we need to call a spade a spade. They send waves of monsters after you on that defensive line. Just waves. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalix Hunt, Bryce Huff, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams. Aaron Donald changed the game. Now your defensive tackle has to be a pass rusher. as well, which is now what makes guards now. Why are guards making $20 million? Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis, who both got, I think Robert Hunt got 20 million, Damian Lewis got 12 million from the Carolina Panthers. Great moves by the Panthers, because they now know guards are going to expect $20 million a year, because now they have to fight people like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis yearly, because Aaron Donald made it a problem. Defensive tackles used to be run stoppers. If they get like 7 sacks a year, it's wonderful. But their job was to create chaos, to free up the edge rushers. But now people realize, what's the fastest way to a quarterback? Straight line. Because defensive ends have to go around, right? So they're going a longer way. But defensive tackles go from point A to point B. Boom. And that's what they're teaching defensive tackles now. Point A, point B. Split the double. Hand fight. Why do you think Aaron Donald does knife trainings to improve his hand-eye coordination? It's not just for, he's a psychopath. Well, one, he is, because that's crazy to do. But it also helps him swat hands away so people don't grab him. So, he swats the hands away, and then he uses his speed to get around the guard. Because you can't let them grab you. So you got to do, so you got to, take that off, and, and then also too, like if you want to get the double, you got to split the double. So you got to make sure you're nimble enough to dip the shoulder, turn the body, and go, we'll see about that. But so defensive tackles now become a thing. We only have Dexter Lawrence, so we need help for him. We let Ashawn Robinson walk out the door. We don't play Jordan Riley. We had Elijah Chapman there, but he didn't really play. He played and then he didn't play, and then towards the end we let the young players play, because we were like, the season's already over. Let's lose a little bit more games. But it is what it is. So here it is, what we talked about today. I don't want Aaron Rodgers. Just trade up to the number 1 pick and get Cam Ward, because I believe in Cam Ward. And just let him roll. Focus on interior defensive line. Give me one of the peoples I talked about. Aeneas Peebles or Ty Robinson or Tyron Ingram Dawkins. One of them. We need cornerbacks. That's true. But who do we talk about? Maxwell Harrison, cornerback. The cornerbacks I know in the draft and throughout the years, Denzel Burke, I know a lot about him. Noel Williams, the cornerback out of California. I know about Kobe Bryant out of Kansas, but this is a defensive line linebacker draft and tight end, apparently. So you're not going to get the wide receiver or running back as well. Running back, defensive line, front 7, and tight end. Those are the positions of real depth. Real depth. But we'll see if the GM that I don't trust does his job. But on that note, everyone, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you guys much just sitting here with me as I ranted for 35 minutes about my team. I appreciate that. But on that note, everyone, have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. We'll see you next week. Caleb is probably going to join me. We'll talk more. We'll talk about day 2 and the DBs. I kind of talked about the DBs as well, because the DBs were going on at the same time. So we probably won't talk about the DBs, but definitely talk about the tight ends and the wide receivers and the running backs and the QBs. Definitely the QBs for the Giants. You know what I mean? But on that note, everyone, have a wonderful day. See you guys next time. And peace. Oh, sorry. Sorry, my bad. What the hell was that? Sorry, I gotta fix that. Sorry about that, guys. Huh. My apologies. All right, so I'll just, I'll just end it.